All right, everyone. So we are back. We are getting closer to the release of a brand new chapter of the Boruto manga. This is Boruto chapter 81, or I guess more specifically, it's Boruto 2 Blue Vortex chapter 1. I don't know which one I'm going to use for the actual title of the video, but I'm probably going to go with Boruto chapter 81 since that's going to be what's on the official, Shonen Jump website when it gets released there. It's going to be Boruto chapter 81. So I think I'm just going to go with that. But we have the spoilers here, guys. And as always, I will warn you guys, if you do not want to be spoiled in any way, shape, or form, this is definitely not going to be the video for you. Now, also, I'm not going to show any actual scans here in this video because last time I did, I got into a little bit of trouble. So I'm not going to actually have any of the scans here, guys. So I do apologize for that. Now, I will go over some of the things that we do have here for the spoilers. I'm not going to go over everything. I'll save my thoughts for the whole chapter, of course, when it officially does get released. But let's go ahead and go over some of these things. Now, the first thing that I do want to talk about is that we do have the official designs for all the characters. Well, maybe not all the characters, but a lot of the characters that we knew from Boruto Part 1, we now get to see what they actually look like in Boruto Part 2 or Boruto 2 Blue Vortex. We also get to see that obviously a lot of the characters have had significant power-ups, it seems. We are going to talk about some of that, specifically when it comes to characters like Boruto, Kawaki, Sarada. We got to talk about Himawari for a minute here. She does play a role in this chapter, albeit not that big of a role, but she is showing that she is indeed going to follow up on her promise, or at least what Kishimoto set up in Boruto Part 1 of Himawari training to become a shinobi. It does seem like he is following up on that in this chapter. Again, we'll talk about that in a minute. And of course, we got to talk about what's actually happening. The main thing that I know a lot of people are going to talk about when this chapter does get released. In fact, I'm seeing a lot of them talk about it right now as these spoilers have come out. There's a lot that we need to talk about. Again, I'm going to save all of my thoughts for the whole chapter when it officially gets released because we are still missing a lot of context and we don't have everything. While we are getting some highlights, there's still a lot of context that we're missing. So obviously we need to wait until the full chapter gets released so we know what's actually happening. The first thing that I do want to talk about is the actual designs of the characters. So we finally get to see the full design for Sarada's time skip. We got to see a little bit of it a few weeks ago, but now we actually get to see the full design, and I gotta be honest, it's actually not that bad of a design. It's okay, it's not really anything all that special. I mean, I'm not really all that impressed by it. It does seem like what a slightly older Sarada would wear compared to what she was wearing before. I am curious to see how the anime is going to portray her, because you know that the anime, of course, draws her differently than how the manga does. You know how Ikimoto draws her character in the manga. The anime goes with Kishimoto's version of the character, the way he drew her originally. And I'm really curious to see whether the anime goes with this exact same design or if they're going to maybe make some slight alterations. I'm expecting them to make some slight alterations because one thing with Ikimoto's designs is that they are really detailed. So I'm definitely expecting the anime to lower or remove some of the details to make it obviously a lot easier for, the animators. The next character's design that I want to talk about is Kawaki. Now, Kawaki, again, his design is okay. I mean, again, I'm just going to say it right now. I'm not really all that impressed when it comes to, a lot of these characters design, their time skip designs. They're okay. I don't hate them. I don't think they're bad. I just think that they're okay. They're fine. Like, they're not really anything, at least for me personally, to get all that excited about. We do, of course, get to see Mitsuki's design. There is one panel right here where we get to see Kawaki and Mitsuki together, and we get to see what both of them look like now after some years have passed. And both of them do, in my opinion, look slightly better than they were before. I'm waiting to see what the actual full color version of them are, but so far what I'm seeing here, it's actually not that bad. And again, obviously they're slightly older because some years have passed, and their designs now are, again, it's not really anything for me to get all that excited about. It looks fine, if I'm being honest. Of course, we also have Sumere's design, and her design, it's interesting. Her design is actually a lot simpler than than the other characters, I don't know why, but Kishimoto chose to add a lot of detail when it comes to those characters. But for some reason, Sumere's design is actually a lot simpler, and I don't know why Ikimoto decided to essentially make her design to be very simple, whereas the others are actually a lot more detailed. So I don't know what's going on there. And that pretty much does it. Or no, sorry, we do of course have Shikadai and Inojin's design, and their design is not really anything all that special. It's okay. Um, Now, Himawari, of course, is probably the one that had the most changes, obviously, because she was the youngest of the new characters. So her design is obviously going to have a lot more changes. Her hair is a lot longer. She's wearing a t-shirt and she's wearing pants, and she has a shirt that has a sunflower on it. And again, if you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about. And again, the design is pretty okay. Now, again, when it comes to Himawari, we do have some things to talk about when it comes to what's being done with her character here in this chapter. And now, of course, I want to talk about Code's character design, because there's something with different with Code's character that we do definitely need to talk about, because Code now has a scar over his left eye, just like how Boruto has a scar over his right eye. And that does, of course, beg the question, what happened to give Code that scar over his eye? Did he, go after Boruto and Sasuke when they were out on the run? Did he come into contact with them, and maybe a fight happened where either Boruto or Sasuke gave him that scar over his right eye? And we don't know what happened. All we do know is that when it comes to his design, Code isn't all that different from how he was drawn in Boruto Part 1, except, of course, like I said, he now has a scar over his left eye. Sorry, I think I said the right eye before. Or no, yeah, no, sorry. I said the left eye before. I got it right. I think I said the right eye for Boruto, not Code. Sorry, I got that mixed up a little bit. And that pretty much does it when it comes to character designs. Of course, we also have Boruto's character design, but I did talk about that in a previous video. And it's pretty much the same thing here in this chapter. Now, that it does it when it comes to character designs. Now let's talk about what's actually happening in this chapter. So the first thing that we see happening in this chapter is Sarada going over to the Hokage office, and we see that Shikamaru is apparently the acting Hokage. So a lot of people theorize, I think including myself, I think I did a video talking about this, where we all theorized that Kakashi was going to step up and take the role of the Hokage again, like what happened when Minato died, and then Hiruzen, took the role of Hokage, because obviously the village needed a Hokage. A lot of us thought that maybe that's what's going to happen with Boruto, now that Naruto's gone. But it seems like that's not the case. It seems like Shikamaru right now is the acting Hokage. And I do say acting Hokage because, again, we don't have, or since what we saw in the flash forward, Shikamaru doesn't have his face on the Hokage Stone Monument, so obviously he was never officially made a Hokage. He is definitely still only the acting Hokage. Now, I am curious what this actually means for Kakashi, because remember, Ikimoto did say that Kakashi was going to play a big role in the story, but he can't say what it is because obviously that's going to be a spoiler. And it seems like it's not what a lot of us theorized it was going to be after what happened in Boruto chapter 80, or I think it was chapter 79, when he sealed Naruto away. But that's what's going on at the beginning, and she's apparently arguing for Boruto and Sasuke's innocence, but Shikamaru apparently isn't having it. He wants to declare both Boruto and Sasuke traitors, and he wants to, of course, put out the arrest order, just like what happened when Sasuke originally left the village, which I do find it really interesting that we're seeing Sasuke essentially repeat what he did at the end of Naruto Part 1, where he left the village and essentially is now branded a criminal. And now we're seeing essentially the same story play out, where he is basically being discussed by the people in the village about whether or not he should be considered a criminal. Except what happened originally is that he was considered a criminal. It's just that Naruto was constantly fighting for his innocence and trying to bring him back. And it seems like the same thing is happening again. And just like what happened in Naruto Part 2, when that first started, the first chapter doesn't actually have Sasuke. So that's another thing that I do want to talk about. This chapter does not have Sasuke in it. We don't know what happened to him. Again, I'll talk about that more later on in the video, but Sasuke does not appear in this chapter, in case you were wondering. So the next thing that I do want to talk about has to do with the power-ups that we see these characters have. And the first character in terms of power-ups that I do want to talk about has to do with Kawaki. And I think a lot of us pretty much predicted this was going to happen. This happens with a lot of shonen animes where there's a time skip and you immediately see that a lot of characters have gotten stronger, they've gotten more skilled. And in the case of Kawaki, it seems like he now is actually capable of going into the Daikoken dimension, the same dimension where he sent Naruto and Hinata. And yeah, he can actually physically go in there, and we actually see him in the Daikoken dimension, and he's just staring at Naruto and Hinata. Now again, I don't know the context of this. I don't know if he's monologuing to himself while he's in there talking about the seventh and how, oh, I don't know how you're going to react when I let you out and you see everything that I've done, or so on and so forth. Again, I don't have the full chapter, so obviously we don't have context for what's going on here. Again, I'm waiting for the full chapter to come out so I know whether there's something going on or if this is just given to us to showcase that Kawaki has grown a lot stronger and a lot more skilled when using his new dojutsu, which, by the way, we still don't have a name for it, but a lot of people in the fandom have called it the Dharmagon because it's patterned after the Dharma wheel. I don't think that's the official name, but again, we'll see. But yeah, Kawaki's gotten a lot more skilled when it comes to using his dojutsu. Another thing that I do want to talk about here is that we do see Kawaki and Mitsuki discussing something on the balcony. I'm guessing this is the same place where we saw them in Boruto Part 1 before everything, went to shit. And I'm just speculating based on what we're seeing here. And basically, he's discussing something with Mitsuki, saying that, he knows that Mitsuki still has hate for Boruto, or in Mitsuki's mind, Boruto was actually Kawaki, but he thinks it's Boruto because of the, Shinjutsu. And he says something like Kawaki says that Boruto cannot escape his eye. So maybe there's another ability to this dojutsu that we didn't actually know about. Just like how a lot of people theorize that because of the inspirations for that dojutsu, that maybe it has the ability to grant wishes. We don't know. Again, we're just going to have to wait and see. But he also shows that now he absolutely can fly, which was already stated to be the case by Amato, saying that eventually Boruto and Kawaki, because they're Otsutsuki now, or Kawaki is like 82% Otsutsuki and Boruto is now 100% Otsutsuki, eventually they'll gain Otsutsuki abilities, one of them being the ability to fly. And we actually see Kawaki display that ability here in this chapter. And then we see Himawari, like I said, training to become a shinobi. She's training with Chocho, and it seems like she's doing pretty well. And when the training ends, Himawari says that she has doubts about Boruto being a bad guy, and then thinks that Naruto actually isn't dead. She has this inner feeling that he is alive somewhere. Sorry, I forgot to say this at the beginning of the video, but I got to give credit to Abdul, as always, for sharing these spoilers with us. And of course, other people have also shared these bits of information with us, so full credit to them. There's Luna Roca, I think I'm saying her name right, and then there's Rai, another person that I wasn't familiar with before the spoilers for chapter 81 came out. So credit to all of them for sharing this information with us. Make sure you go follow them on Twitter to show them some support. And when it comes to Himawari, now a lot of people may think that, oh, well, this doesn't make any sense considering what she did. Actually, to me, it makes perfect sense because, again, she is Naruto's daughter. So her being able to forgive someone for doing something even as despicable as, possibly murdering her parents, that to me is actually in character because, again, she is Naruto's son. I mean, Naruto was able to forgive Obito for, causing the events that led to his parents' death. If Naruto was able to do that, then Himawari doing that is honestly not all that surprising, and I think very in character. Same thing with how Boruto said at the end of chapter 81, where instead of just immediately hating Kawaki, he instead said that, I actually can't blame Kawaki for doing this. I kept saying that I actually understood where he's coming from, but in reality, I actually didn't. But now maybe I actually will. By having the whole world hate me, I might actually know a little bit of what Kawaki was going through. Again, just showing that they are indeed Naruto's children. And I do actually like this. This is, in my opinion, good writing from Kishimoto. I do think this is good. I know a lot of people may not agree with this, but to me, this actually makes perfect sense. So the next, and officially the biggest thing that I know, again, a lot of people are going to talk about, is that the claw grimes that we saw Code making have officially started attacking the village. Now, I don't know if this is the first attack that Code has initiated with his Ten Tails, army, or if he was attacking other villages before this event happened, before he officially started attacking the Leaf Village. Again, we don't know. We're gonna have to wait to get some context, again, whether it's from this chapter or maybe the chapter after this. But Code officially launched his army against the Leaf Village. We see them attacking the villagers, and we see Sarada managing to knock one of them away. Now, again, whether she's actually capable of fighting these things or not, again, we have to wait until the chapter comes out, because obviously I don't know, we don't have full context. But then later we see Code coming out of one of the claw grimes, which again, we know they are capable of doing that, since Code created them by taking the Ten Tails chakra and mixing his chakra in with them to give them the ability to use his claw marks. And of course, when Code makes his appearance, we see that, like I said, he has a scar over his left eye, which again begs the question, what happened? Did he encounter Boruto and Sasuke out when they were out on their journey? And did a battle result in Code losing his left eye, just like how, again, Boruto has, lost the use of his right eye, at least until when he activates his karma mark, which gives his right eye a Byakugan, which seems to give a temporary fix for him not having use of his right eye. Again, I'm just speculating at this point. And then it seems like as he was about to attack Sarada, he immediately gets stepped on by Boruto. I'm not even kidding. Like, he literally gets stepped on by Boruto. And again, we don't have context for this, whether he took him by surprise or he showed up and then did this to him. Personally, for me, the way it looks like he caught him off guard, and then of course he gets off him. Now, a lot of people have been speculating that because Boruto was able to do this, then that means that Boruto currently, and keep in mind, this is base Boruto. This Boruto doesn't even have the karma mark activated. He isn't in karma mark stage 2, and he's already doing this to Code. And a lot of people have speculated that this probably means that Boruto right now in base has already surpassed both Naruto and Sasuke, and that's when they were in their primes. That's Naruto with Kurama, with Six Path Sage Mode, and Sasuke with the Rinnegan. A lot of people have speculated that this means he's now stronger than them. Personally, for me, I think that's kind of jumping the gun a little bit. I don't necessarily think that's the case, because if what we were told is true, and that Code, by creating the Ten Tails army, he again was using his chakra, mixing them in with the chakra of the Ten Tails, and then molding it to create these army, then essentially he's basically spread his chakra out to all of these, small claw grimes. I can talk. And from what Ada told us, there are apparently thousands of them. So if that's the case, then that means that Code's chakra is spread out among all these things. So Code himself, technically, if you think about it, wouldn't actually be at 100% power. And if that's the case, then that means the code that we're seeing right now isn't the same Code that we saw first get his limiters unlocked and then, of course, get his ass kicked by Damon. That's just my speculation. Again, we're going to have to wait until we get the actual chapter and we see what happens after that, because it seems like the chapter ends with a standoff between Code, Kawaki, and Boruto. Now, there was something else that did get released, which I don't actually have in front of me right now, but we also get to see that Kawaki has awakened all the spokes in his left eye, his dojutsu, and apparently he has much more mastery over that ability than he did before. Again, wait until the actual chapter comes out to get full context, but that's basically where the chapter ends. It ends with the standoff between Code, Boruto, and Kawaki, and that's, again, where the chapter ends. Now, guys, to me, what I think about this chapter is I think that it, so far from what we've seen, it does a good job of catching us up with all these characters where they are now, and also immediately hitting, the road running or immediately getting the story started is what I'm trying to say, and not basically, taking its time to slowly, set things up as it did before, and then finally getting the story started. It just immediately goes in, it immediately has Code attack the village with his claw grimes, and then of course having Boruto's return. And like I said, guys, before, Sasuke is not in this chapter. I'm already seeing a lot of people theorize, okay, what the hell happened to Sasuke? Is he dead? Is that why Boruto has his cloak and has a sword? Um, Personally, for me, I don't think that's the case, because we saw from the official colored version of Boruto's time skip design, that's not the same cloak that Sasuke was wearing. So it's not a case where Sasuke died and he gave his cloak and sword to Boruto. Maybe he did give him his sword. I could be wrong. I don't necessarily think that's the case, because it also seemed like it was a different one than the one that Sasuke has. Now, we could, of course, be essentially misled. I know that this is something Kishimoto likes to do. If you read Naruto, he loves to do this, where he misleads us into thinking something else and then immediately drops us with information that makes us realize that, oh, we didn't actually know anything. So I'm guessing what's probably going to happen, I've seen some people already theorize this, is that what we're seeing is essentially a flash forward within a flashback, where essentially what we're going to get is Kishimoto giving us another flashback into the 2 or 3 years between Boruto Part 1 and Boruto Part 2, where he's going to give us a little bit of context as to what happened and where we are right now. Now, again, I don't know, we'll have to wait and see. But when it comes to Sasuke, again, it's really interesting that Kishimoto is essentially doing the same thing as what he did in Naruto Part 2, where after Part 1 ended and Part 2 started, we went a long time without getting to see where Sasuke is right now before we got to the Tenchi Bridge arc. And then finally we got to see him again, and he had the main character Naruto and the rest of Team 7 meet up with Sasuke, and then he used that opportunity to show us how Sasuke has improved over the years by basically just completely crapping all over Team 7, like they weren't able to do anything. I don't think maybe the same thing's going to happen here. I could be wrong, but we'll have to wait and see. But I just do find it interesting that Part 2 starts where we don't have Sasuke. He's not there with Boruto in the village. And we see Sarada standing right behind Boruto, and I'm fully expecting her to probably ask Boruto, hey, why isn't my dad with you? Where is he? And maybe that will lead to us probably getting an answer, maybe in the form of a flashback, like what I've seen a lot of people theorize. Again, could be wrong. We're just speculating here. Like I said, we're going to have to wait until we get the full chapter to get the whole story. Who knows? Maybe something about him does get mentioned in the chapter, but I could be wrong. Anyway, guys, let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like, share the video out there, hit the subscribe button if you're new, ring the bell for notifications, and I hope I see you guys for my next video. Bye for now.